lot of times is half the battle.
So I would
okay.
I would have
Okay.
Collin practice.
Yeah, so we're
Just let him talk to you,
All
and
right.
then figure out that way.
And
So
we'll just whittle it down, that we get a good claim.
really quickly, so we're just talking about, kind of your beliefs on gun control, and it seems like maybe, would it be safe to say that you want more gun control?
Yeah.
Or more control on guns in America?
Yeah, for sure.
So really quickly, how would you define, control?
Control. Yeah. So I think there should be some laws in place that require people to have certain standards when they're buying guns. So by control, I mean have people follow a process in order for them to gain this.
So would it be safe to say then that you think we need a better set of laws on how people buy guns?
On how people are able to obtain guns.
On how they're able to obtain guns. Cool. So like on that scale of kind of like 0 to 100, like how much do you believe we need more laws in regards to purchasing guns?
I would say 100. Yeah.
100%?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty high.
That's pretty high. Yeah.
And also just because there's so much variance. When we're talking about guns, when you talk about a gun, are you talking about all guns or just some guns? What do you think of when you think of gun?
Well, I don't think that it will be very easy to get rid of all guns. I think that there is some purpose to them, but I don't think that there is semi-automatic weapons are like something that it is needed in our society.
Okay, so would you say that the laws you want would extend to all of the guns, or just kind of these?
I would say any guns that can, shall we say, kill people in large numbers in a very short amount of time.
So then, is it safe to say that you want a greater restriction on weapons that can kill large amounts of people quickly? Mm-hmm. Cool. This is kind of a side note, but have you always believed this, or was there something that kind of sparked this as a belief?
Well, I mean, if you see the news, right, there has been some mass shootings around the country, like since like a very long time. One of the biggest ones that they started with is called Columbine school shooting.
Okay.
I think like 22 people got killed. I can't remember the exact number, but that was like 1980 probably. And even till now, it just keeps repeating like every year that seems to happen.
So then was it that event that kind of made you believe that we needed those?
If only that event would have happened, no. But since many events has happened like that one throughout the years, just the repetition, there must be something that could possibly be done. And I have also heard that countries that regulate guns or have banned guns, like in Australia, have had more success in terms of like mass shootings, getting rid of those.
This is probably not going to happen. Let's just say hypothetically that from tomorrow on, we somehow had no more mass shootings in our country without any changes to current laws. Would you still think we needed those changes to our current gun control laws?
No.
So it's the mass shootings that you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other reason aside from mass shootings? Is there any other sort of concerns you have with those guns being out there aside from the mass shootings?
Well, yeah, I mean there can be all kinds of like maybe aids to crime. That could be the bit of one. I'm not 100% sure, but it would be an interesting thing to look at whether guns are more pro-crime or less crime. But I think maybe we can look at that. I wouldn't be sure about that exactly, but what I know for sure that it will. Well, it will most likely help the mass shootings.
And
I can give you certain of that, but like high percentage certainty, yeah.
Well, that's probably good. So when we're talking about mass shootings, like what do you think of as a mass shooting? Like what's your number of people? This is really horrific, but what's your number of people that need to die for you to consider it a mass shooting? Like if it only went down.
I would say like I wouldn't know how to actually, but probably like between 3 and 5, more than 3 and 5. 3, 4, 5, yeah.
Okay, so if we could, so let's say that we could make it so that there was, without any change to the laws, that there was only 2 people dying and it never hit more than 2. Would you be okay with us not enacting any of the changes or the extra laws?
I will. Well, yeah,
Okay.
sure. I think that I don't know actually. I think that it. Let's see. So I would like to consider the question as to what guns are useful for in the first place exactly. Like, what is it? So that perhaps we can talk about like utilitarianism, where how good does guns bring versus how bad it brings. So we can analyze that. I couldn't give you an answer to that as of now because I haven't. Yeah.
Do you think that, or if you saw like another country where they managed to not have these mass shootings and they still had the same set of laws that we have, like let's say you look like an African country and for some reason Africa has complete free reign of guns, but for some reason they don't have mass shootings. Do you think that would change your opinion on?
I haven't seen any country that has the similar laws and similar.
This is crazy. This is a made-up African country of Wakanda. If there was somewhere that had the same laws that we have, but they were able to eliminate mass shootings, would you be okay with not changing our laws?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. This is a super hypothetical situation, which I think that it brings something. Since I strongly believe the reason why there's mass shootings is because you have this standard amount of laws, but you're creating another scenario where same laws but no mass shootings. I think that goes against my own logic already. So I would say that scenario that you have created cannot exist.
Okay. So
it will not exist.
How do you determine that it's the laws that we have that create these mass shootings?
So I have heard some reports on what happened to Australia. They had some mass shootings and that they have changed their gun laws. They had more restrictions now. I don't know exactly how extensive they changed their laws, but they have made some, and since then there haven't been a mass shooting since they changed the law. I think it was in the 90s.
If they did have mass shootings occur now, even with those new restrictions, would that change your opinion on their new laws?
It will change slightly, yeah, slightly, because you can't take away all the success since the law passed.
Another just crazy hypothetical. If we did put whatever laws it is you want in place, and the mass shootings didn't change, if we had the same number of mass shootings, would you be okay with removing those laws that were put in place?
Yeah.
Okay. Just so to kind of just wrap this up real quickly, so just to make sure that I know what you're saying here, and that I've got it correctly, is that you feel that we have right now an issue with mass shootings that are caused by specific weapons.
Yeah, and possibly gun violence too.
And possibly gun violence. And that it's the reason that we have this issue is because there's not enough laws under control. And if we enacted some laws on how people get access to them, you believe that would eliminate them. But you also believe that, or if for some reason it didn't work, you would be okay with removing those controls as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it was great talking to you, Dino.
Does anybody else have any questions they would add?
I guess how specific or general of a proposition do you like to start with?
What do you mean? The claim itself?
Yeah.
I like to be as specific as possible.
Right.
But something like this is so vague because there are thousands of laws.
Right.
And changing the laws is not an easy process. It's
Right.
not just something I can change my mind on and the world will be different.
One thing,
So it's kind of a tricky,
one thing that might be really
Well,
interesting.
Go ahead.
it has happened. Like again, the Australia
Yes.
example is not something that is not outside. Like they took
laws
like,
do change.
Right.
like a
Yeah.
year to change
Mhm.
or something.
Yeah.
Maybe like
Well,
It's just
well,
very
actually, I would like to, can I ask one question just about this? I actually don't know the history of Australia, but I just want to ask, so there was one mass shooting in Australia, is my understanding, that
there were
catalyzed.
several.
Okay, there is some number, but there's one ultimately that catalyzed the law being changed,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And so, let's just say, I don't know the exact year, so let's imagine the year were 1995. Let's imagine that the law changed, that the shooting happened and the law changed in 1995, for example. Over the previous 20 years in Australia, there was some number of mass shootings. It might have been 0, it might have been 1,000. I don't know what it is. Would that number be important to you? Like if we went from maybe 1 mass shooting per decade to 0, is that worth a change in the law versus 10 versus 100, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like
I will say it will be worth it to change the law even if it stops one mass shooting. Specifically, if there is no gain
Sure.
in terms of why do we have these guns for in the first place. So
So-
you will have to discuss as to what is the purpose of guns in society,
Yeah.
what good does it bring, and you will have to argue
Sure.
we'll have to argue as to okay how you have to argue as to how much this fund evaluates with the possibility of something
Sure.
like a mass.
So there's some kind of a cost benefit. We haven't really discussed what the benefit is, so we can't really compare. But you would want to make some comparison. You know, the cost for you would be weighed against what someone might claim would be the benefit, and that's how you would make that decision.
I'm open to new ideas as to how to decide things.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be my thing.
Okay, great. No, I
So
just
your
wanted to
mind
clarify
is
that.
open
Thank
to
you. Yeah.
being changed.
Yeah.
Like you're not dead set on.
Yeah.
On a that specific thing as to
Yeah.
how to
Sure.
decide whether something is good or bad. Yeah, sure.
I like how we didn't get into the Second Amendment at all.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And Collin, feedback? You want feedback?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I've got some.
Yeah.
Some things that I loved were that you identified a crux. If there are no mass shootings, would you still believe?
Yeah, probing the limits.
Yeah,
of
I
the
thought you
belief.
made
I thought that was great.
very effective use of flipping, right, of counterfactuals. Like, if there were no mass shootings, if there were a country that had our exact same laws, if there, like, it was very good to see how you sort of probed the boundaries that way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's
I have a question kind of on that topic, because when he proposed that to him, my question was like, well, what is different?
Mhm.
Like, are you
What else is
allowed,
different about
are
these
you allowed
places?
to ask questions back, to like probe more to help you make a better decision?
Yeah, see, that's the thing where individuality comes into play too. Like, we all have our personal biases and our opinions already going into this, so sometimes it slips out. I think as a street epistemology practitioner, we try to keep our opinions out of it,
Mhm.
but like, sometimes it,
Yeah.
we're people.
Yeah.
I also
And
wanted
we
to
have
say,
opinions, so if you think of a question you really want an answer to,
yeah,
I ask it because I want to know.
Yeah.
And it should be a friendly conversation as well. Like, so go ahead and like if you feel that's how you get off on rabbit holes, and that's why I like to write down the claim so I can like
Go back to
So-
rabbit trails, not holes.
So the question for me is, what was the purpose of the exercise?
What do you mean?
What was the purpose of it? So was it the purpose? So what is the purpose of doing the exercise, the whole thing?
What is the purpose of street epistemology?
Yeah, I mean, should we
In
even
general?
discuss that? No,
Well,
just
can I
these
wanna-
conversations.
I just
Yeah.
want to give Colin one other
Sure.
kudos first, which was that the other thing that I liked is when you presented the counterfactual about a country with our same laws that didn't have mass shootings, right? Our interlocutor here, Dino, kind of resisted. He's like, well, I feel it's the lack of laws that causes the mass shootings, right? And I thought you very effectively were, to me, I would have perceived that as a dead end, but then you were like, okay, well, let's explore that logic, which I thought was good. Like, what are the reasons that you feel like the laws specifically, cause or lead to the mass shooting? So I thought
And it
it was a
is
good
5
job.
o'clock. If anybody needs to leave, go ahead and go. I won't be offended. We have the room till 5:30, so we can keep going a little bit longer. But
Cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Now that we're done, we can talk about what the purpose of street epistemology
Well,
is.
I have an idea if you think about it.
I'll just say, I actually regret not going on a specific line of questioning that would have had a bit more of a purpose. And that was whether or not, if the total number of deaths were higher from other weapons, it would, versus the semi-automatics, that would change, to kind of drill down and make you question whether or not it's actually the number of deaths or that, because I should have gone further on that, 3 number, like what's the number for mass
right,
shootings?
we could have got into the weapon type, the death number,
Yeah,
if
no,
you used a
it-
different type of
It's a very
weapon for
philosophical
mass
discussion.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
England and knives is one that I've heard brought
Right.
up quite a bit with
baseball
the
bats.
argument
In
of acid,
London and
right? That
fists.
was-
London has a terrible problem with people.
They
who
had
beat
an
up.
issue with acid for like a minute too.
Oh, the acid attacks.
Yeah.
Oh, different type of acid. Never mind.
I
I was like, what?
You're about to go on somebody.
Where's my
It was legal. Well, so the purpose seems to be to explore different ways of thinking, explore your belief system, see other ways, perspectives. Don't be so open, so close-minded.
And it's to get down to the how you formulated this belief.
Right.
It could be that, well, my mom told me this was true, and that's why I believe it. It could be something that simple,
Right.
and you don't have any reasons or facts, or your epistemology is kind of weak.
I mean, with the guns,
Just explore
one thing
that.
that's always interesting to me is like there's all kinds of deaths that we allow in society that we act like we're implicitly okay with. Like a big one to me is cars, road deaths.
Mhm.
I was recently in a car accident where I hit a cow,
Oh,
and the cow was allowed to be there because it was an open range. And now I have strong views that are anti-open range in like touristy areas.
Also,
Because
there
of
was
your
another person that
experience.
was in an accident right afterwards.
Right.
Oh.
There was another
In the
person
same
who hit another
range.
cow right behind me. And
Right.
I was just like, okay, this is 2 examples right here of why these cows maybe shouldn't be on this
back
road.
to back.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and like there's all kinds of things we could do. We could reduce the speed limit by 50% and way fewer people would die.
Or would the cow walk off a cliff onto your car?
No.
It was at night.
No, it was at night.
It was at night.
Yeah.
Or something
And
like
right
that.
over a little like.
Or
And then you can get into like seatbelt laws or helmet laws or any of those
Or,
other
or
like
the
safety
speed limit
laws.
is
or-
allowed to be
Mhm.
around. Because
Right.
the speed limit was 65?
I think it was 55 or 60.
It was
60. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were going.
And there's like
Yeah.
with
That's like not okay.
Yeah, with COVID, there's like people have often made an analogy of like the number of people dying of COVID every day is more than 9/11 happening every single day. But people have a very different feeling about it because 9/11 was a terrorist attack, whereas no person is like, I'm gonna make sure COVID kills 20,000 people today. Like
Well.
it just happened.
There is that argument.
Yeah, there is that argument, exactly. But like, many people think that no specific, and personally, I think no specific person like caused COVID to happen. There's people that made COVID worse than it could have been, but it was a thing that came.
You're gonna
from
get this
nature.
video canceled from YouTube if you keep talking about COVID.
That would have been a great outsider test if I could have identified kind of where we're looking at for the death number reduction, and then use it as an outsider test on other restrictions
Right.
that would be similar. Where
Yeah.
let's say, because if you could only drive 25 miles per hour, how many lives would you save? And if it would save more lives than
Right.
XYZ weapons.
Right, where's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
line? And that's what you were trying to explore. Where's the cutoff? So that was good, I think. So we can do one more if you guys want
I'm willing
to.
to do a pretty light one.
Well, that's the only thing I believe in still.
Did you get locked out?
still believe in.
So